When you say a company has literally bet the company on a car, or in this case, a range of cars, it's normally something pretty big. In Volkswagen's case, having come out of all the Dieselgate rubbish and, you know, being caught properly red-handed, they had to come out and do a good, full-blown electric range. And this is probably one of the smaller ones of the range. It's the ID3, and there's going to be an ID4 coming out very, very soon. There's talk about it going into a complete range of cars. I'm very, very impressed. This is a really good car, and I look forward to talking you through the 5 things I love about it in this video. And to make it completely balanced, I'll also do another video called 5 things I hate. And as it is with a lot of electric cars, I'm nitpicking, but you know, it brings a nice balance, I believe. Now, as we're on the way to the woods, I thought I'd just talk about my number 1 reason that I'm really loving this car. And I knew a mate who had driven it a few weeks before I am now. And one of the comments he said to me was, "Have you seen the lights?" And I thought, okay. Anyway, I drove it last night for about an hour in sort of early evening when I didn't really need the lights. And they were great. They work fine. I then drove it back and went down some of my favourite back roads. And these are the roads I literally grew up driving on when I was sort of 17, 18. And these lights are phenomenal because they've got the main sort of bulb is on like a little stalk. So what happens is you go into a corner and you turn left. The car knows you're turning left and angles the light off to the left. And obviously it angles it off to the right when you turn right. And this is something I've not really experienced in a car. I know there's other cars that do adaptive headlights and they're great, but this works so well. I was really very, very impressed. And it made for a back road sort of hoon around some sort of country roads even better, because there's a lot of roads where you've got a left-hand bend and you've got a lot of grass on your left. The lights just meant that you were lighting up the road all the way through the corner. The only downside of those is I would not want a warranty claim to be paid by me if anything went wrong. Those lights are fantastic, but you know, how complicated are they? Are they going to still be working great in 100, 200,000 miles time? Because let's be honest, electric cars are bringing in a new era of motoring where it's going to be the norm that these cars do 500,000 miles or more. So yeah, get an extended warranty if you're watching this video in 4 years time and buying a second-hand car, but other than that, those lights are phenomenal. So yeah, really impressed with that. So number 2 on my reasons I really love this car is this interior. And as much as I would be so tempted to spec this white steering wheel, I think I would chicken out. But that doesn't matter, because the rest of it, in all bar this plastic, which I'll go on to in my things I hate, I think's really good. You know, it's a nice size cabin, you've got plenty of space. Like, I'm not, you know, a tiny guy. Quite comfortably fitting in this car though. And yet it is, you know, in the UK I'd call this just a normal small family car. The ID4, which is going to be a bit bigger, more sort of Qashqai sort of size, would be the sort of proper family car. But this has got plenty of space, and you know, Kate and I spent the morning in this car this morning, and it felt really good. You know, I've got plenty of elbow space. I've got, you know, the armrests are fixed, but actually, you know, you could do a long journey in this car. You know, I'm doing 70 miles an hour at the moment on an A road, and it's really comfortable. You've got this A pillar, that's a little bit of annoyance. You have got the glass panel there, so you can see through it, but compared to say driving my BMW i3, which is our main car, I find I'm moving my head a bit more. But to be honest, that's a thing you're going to get used to, and you know, you want a solid A pillar for safety reasons if you ever really binned it. But all the controls feel really nice. You've got a very i3 inspired gear selector here, which I sort of laughed about when I first saw this. But you know, everything feels really nice. You got a couple of cup holders down here. You got a holder for your phone, but it's not got wireless charging, which I think is really surprising. But it's there. You've got USB-C ports literally everywhere. You've got quite a long sort of storage bay here, but the problem with this is you go to pull it back and you get your arm trapped in between the armrests. But once it's back, you know, you've got plenty of space down there. So in terms of interior storage and space, it's fantastic. You know, I've heard a lot of rumours about the technology side of things, and I can sort of confirm that it's, you know, it all works really well. And I'll probably come on to this in my 5 Things I Hate video, so make sure you subscribe and sort of find that video as well. But there's a few things like the haptic volume controls here. I've rented this from the EVEC, and Rachel there was really helpful in telling me that because it's haptic, you can slide as well as sort of press, and it does work better sort of sliding to do the volume controls on the steering wheel. The problem is, you know, when you're really sort of turned over going around, say, a tight mini roundabout or something, I find the sort of inside of my hand will roll over the volume controls, and it was quite embarrassing going around my neighbourhood and Little Mix coming out a bit too loud. So on that basis, it's not perfect. And the other thing I don't like is these lights at night. I've tried in all the menus to work out how to turn those off, because they're just like an outline, and if you tap it, the light comes on, which is, you know, which is great. But the default is there's just like a ring of light up there, and 2 of them, and it's just a little bit annoying when you're driving at night and you've got this sort of light up in the top corner. But again, you know, overall as a package, this interior is fantastic, and I do think it's a special enough place to be for what is, let's be honest, a high 20s, early 30s car. And you can lease one of these for pretty much half. I was surprised at this as well. Half the price of a Model 3 Standard Range Plus. That's a real massive saving, that. And I know plenty of people who are looking at this as a sort of a competitor to the Model 3 Standard Range Plus. And on list price alone, you would think, oh yeah, it's not far, there's not much in it, maybe a few grand extra, but paying out double the deposit and double the monthlies. But then I know the Teslas are in huge demand at the moment, so I'm sure the leasing companies are popping a nice little bit of profit on their monthly rates. But yeah, overall, I'm very impressed with this little car inside. Really, really impressed. Reason number 3 that I really love this car is the handling. And I wasn't expecting this. I didn't even realise it's a rear-wheel drive car, because you do feel it. And I remember sort of driving it thinking, this feels really good. It's obviously it's relatively heavy cars, and you got the weight down low, like pretty much every electric car. So that's really good. But it just, I remember going around my first roundabout at not flat out speeds, but you know, a reasonable sort of speed, and I was like, oh, this handles really good. And the name of this channel, Electric Petrolhead, probably gives away my sort of background, but I am someone who loves my cars and love how they drive. And you know, obviously I'm doing 2 miles an hour up Sandy Lane at the moment, so it's not really the place to show you the handling, but I think you'd be really pleasantly surprised if you jumped into one of these and took it for a drive. I was expecting a front wheel drive, normal German hatchback, you know, quite safe handling, but this is fun. Obviously you're not drifting out of roundabouts or anything like that, and this being the first edition isn't the most powerful sort of long range version that they've got coming. And if they can do something like an ID3R or like a GTI version, I think that would be really good, because it feels like the chassis could really handle a lot more power. And I've not really had any issues with traction in the wet. In the i3, the BMW, Every now and again you do sort of, if you accelerate a bit quickly, you can see the traction control kicking in. I highly recommend going and driving one if you're quite tempted. And from sort of someone who enjoys driving, I don't think you're going to be disappointed with an ID3. I'm pleasantly surprised. It really is nice. So point number 4, and it's one I've kind of talked about a little bit already, is that although it's not quite as extreme as it could have been, and think about when BMW first launched the i3 with the carbon tub, like, you know, that was pushing the limits. This is kind of a very conservative but pushing the boundaries just enough to make it feel special without losing why people buy VW Golfs. Because the Golf is the car that you can just rely on and trust. And I think VW have taken that same kind of ideology over onto the ID range. You know, it's just a nice place to be. I'd be really interested to drive one without this white steering wheel, because this steering wheel really does feel special. I think it looks absolutely fantastic, and it's the right size. It's got a slight flat bottom to it. It's a really nice place to be. You've got the screen with the key information straight ahead. This one doesn't have the head-up display, which future UK cars are going to get. I'd be looking forward to that, because I'm a big believer in Tesla need to do head-up displays like now, because the main screen is great for navigating all the information, but for speed and sat nav, just give it a head-up display. Works really well. And yeah, so you got that. You've got the stalker there to go between the different driving modes, and overall you've just got everything you need in a really nice sort of layout. I think those people who are tempted by the Tesla but don't like everything being on the touchscreen, this is a nice balance, because you've got this little panel here with the lights, which makes it really easy to quickly chuck on, say, demister or sticking on your fog lights. And you don't want to be hunting around in menus if you turn sort of round a corner or go down into a valley and suddenly you're in fog. So that's great. The screen's small compared to a Tesla, but big compared to everything else. I'm not a massive fan of these haptic buttons. I think they could have been done a bit better. And the menu systems can get a bit laggy at times. But yeah, overall, it just feels like a nice place to be. And, you know, this doesn't even have... These are just normal cloth seats, but again, they feel pretty good. So yeah, I think it's a good place to be. Okay, number 5 on my 5 things I really love about this car is I just think it's the perfect sort of packaged car for a small family. So if you just got 2 kids, and there's obviously this is a 5-seater. I think the bigger battery is only going to be a 4-seater. I'm not sure if that was a rumor or real, but as this is, there's enough space in here. It's probably similar to a Model 3. It feels like a big enough car, yet it's not completely enormous that makes it hard to park. I know this is not really a comparison with sort of American cars where you've got a lot more sort of space in car parks and on roads. With this being a European car, I think it's a perfect size. The boot's great. It's bigger than a Golf, which, you know, most people would be sort of comfortable with as a family car. It could be better because this one doesn't even have underfloor storage. It has a little tiny bit, but not the sort of the bigger space which you would expect. And that's something that Tesla are really good at with the way that they package their cars. So you've got more space in the boot. There's no frunk space, which is a shame, because I think that's a missed opportunity for like charging cables. It works really well in the i3, just chucking them all in there out of the way. It's everything you would need as a family car. A dilemma that Kate and I have had, and I don't think we'd change the i3 for it now, because we've had our i3 only 18 months and it feels a bit too soon to go and change it. Like if we were shopping for sort of a small family car now, I think this would be tempting, just because it's a little bit more sort of user friendly than the i3. It's got normal rear doors, and you know, it's got a lot going for it. I'm really impressed. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this look at the VW ID3. This is the first edition. There's plenty more variants coming out in the next sort of months and years. And then obviously the ID.4, which is going to be the slightly bigger car. I'm a big fan of it. I really think it's great. What I suggest you do is have a look on my channel and find the 5 things I hate video. It's something I kind of started doing as a bit of a joke, and it actually works really well. And I get a lot of emails saying that they really appreciated me being forcefully negative about a car, because you can really nitpick and find the things that are annoying. But as it is, there's not a lot I don't like about this car. I can understand why the reviews I've already seen rated so highly, and when you start looking at, say, just leasing alone, the price difference between this and the Tesla Model 3 Standard Range Plus is massive, and more sort of in line with this in terms of pricing. You know, maybe like the Renault Zoe is a longer range car, but it doesn't feel as special. You know, this is a car that I actually drive around thinking, this is cool. You know, this is a car I really like. My daughters think it's really interesting. And with a couple of minor changes, like if they bring out sort of a more luxurious version of this and get rid of this plastic that you just rest your arm on, sort of slides off, which I'll go into in the other video, I think this would be a perfect little car. Really, really well done, VW. I think you literally bet your company on the ID range, and I think it's going to pay off. This is going to sell well. So yeah, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and as always, comment below or email me if you have any questions. I'll be delighted to help you go and test drive one. Thank you to EVC in Milton Keynes as well. I got in quite quick to sort of experience this car. They do short-term rentals, and it's great because you get to experience a car without having a salesman next to you. So it's what we did with the i3, and then we went and bought one. So yeah, highly recommend you check those out. Check them out if you're in the area, or you can get over and then, you know, rent it for a week, and people drive up to Scotland and down to Cornwall. So thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye.